Good morning and welcome to our next Ask Me Anything. My name is Amber Hug and I am the National Education Manager for Schwarzkopf Professional. Again, we are here in our brand room in the corporate office in Culver City, Los Angeles. Would love to see where all of you are joining me from. Type into the comments, let me know where you're here from. Would love to see it. Thank you for joining today. Just a reminder, if I can't answer your question today, you can go to our switchwithsp.com and book your one-on-one appointment with an educator. But let's go ahead and get started. We can start by answering some of the questions that maybe you guys asked last week that we didn't get to, or maybe you typed them into our Instagram and we got those questions from you as well. So we'll start with this first one. With some Agora shades, I often have a hard time comparing them to Shades EQ. Within our brand, we do actually have a conversion chart from Schwarzkopf to Shades EQ. So that is something that you could look into. The other thing to think about is an N is a natural. So our -0 is going to be very to a 9. There's going to be some shades that look exactly alike. There's going to be some that look different. I don't have time today to go through all of the Shades EQ. I highly recommend for that person that ask the question of some colors don't completely match to book your one-on-one appointment with an educator so you can talk about specific shades that you want to see. The biggest reminder is some demi-permanents are acidic, so they sit only on the outside of the hairline. But IGORA VIBRANCE is a alkaline demi-permanent line, so it actually swells the cuticle, allows some of those color pigments to go inside the hair strand, which gives you more longevity and also gives you color on the interior and exterior of the hair. So that's the main difference between the two. So there is a difference between an alkaline and acidic demi. For specific questions, just book your one-on-one appointment. Awesome. So let's see. If you haven't yet, go ahead and start typing your questions into the chat box. In the meantime, we're going to pull up another question from last week. So let's take a look here. Some low light formulas on pre-lightened foiled hair, level 9-10, to a blonde, level 7-8. Great question here. So essentially, you're just looking for some low light formulas. I have some great options for you. Whenever I'm low lighting a blonde, the first thing I think about is blonde hair can be more porous. So whether or not you want to have a gold shade, you might want to add some sort of gold into your color formula for that low light. So for instance, over here, we've got the -46. One of my favorite shades to do here is 8-46, even by itself. It's a level 8, and that's a beige chocolate. It's got just the right amount of warmth to give you this most beautiful result, to have that slight bit of warmth, but have like a nude tone as a low light. Another favorite low light formula of mine is the -42. Your -42 is going to be that beige ash. So this is what we call a muted desert. If you think of when the sun is shining on the sand and it's got that nice little bit of that beige tone, it's almost really gold but has that hint of that ash, this is perfect for that. Another option is to add into any of your formulas a -55. So we have a level and a line. So mixing these two together and adding them into either of those shades, the 8-46 or your 8-4 or a 9-42, whichever way you want to go, adding in some gold can really help to act as a filler. So the biggest key when you're low lighting from a level down to level 7 or 8 is to make sure you're adding some gold into that formula. So great question. Love that. I see we're starting to get some questions into the chat box. So let's start with those. So we'll start here. Hi, can you mix peroxide vibrance with Agora colors from, okay, so in this, technically vibrance is an Agora color too, but I believe you're probably talking about using vibrance activator for Agora Royale shades. We do not recommend utilizing your Agora Vibrance developer, which is this one here. It's our developer for our demi-permanent. Schwarzkopf Professional does not recommend mixing it with your permanent. Reason being, we have added oil to our developer for Agora Royale. This is going to be a color that has ammonia in it. So we wanted to have more conditioning agents with that oil in the developer. So it is dedicated for this color. I think the reason you might be asking that question is maybe you want a lower developer within your Agora color. Technically, we don't have anything lower than a level 10, but just know that everything has been formulated to work with a 10 volume developer. So the answer to that question, unfortunately, we don't recommend it. If you do try it, that's a creative way to use it. So let's take our next question here. I have wondering how the BlondMe Deep Toner Peach Sorbet would work on a level 7 orange undertone. Ooh. Okay, so peach sorbet. So for those of you that don't know, we have within our BlondMe range, we have toners as well. They look like this. What I love about these toners is they are a gel consistency. So when mixed with the BlondMe 7 volume developer, you actually get this really great consistency that can be bowl and brush or bottle application. So real quick, I'm just going to show you this texture here. So you can see this is this nice gel texture here. You can see it right here on this box as it comes out. Whee! All right, so it's got this nice gel consistency. So when mixed with the cream, it almost is like this perfect combination between our gel and lotion and vibrance. Great consistency for bottle application or bowl and brush application. But with the deep toner, the peach sorbet is my favorite to use. So if you already have an orange undertone, what that peach sorbet is going to do is refine that warmer tone that you have. So if you're thinking you already have an orange undertone, that peach sorbet has kind of that peachiness, but it's a soft, almost hint of a dusty peachiness. It is stunning. I actually love using the peach sorbet over top of my hair. So sometimes I like to do a shiny gloss all over everything, and I will take peach sorbet and put it over top of everything, or even mix my peach sorbet with something a little bit lighter. And that way I can get just this off, like maybe a peach sorbet with some biscuit. That's going to really kind of dilute the peach sorbet and give me a lighter level. If you haven't tried it yet, try our peach sorbet. The benefit to the BlondMe toners and the difference is BlondMe toners are pH neutral. That means it's going to be no ability to lift the hair, whereas our Vibrance is an alkaline base. So great question. Love that you talked about peach sorbet. It is one of my favorites. So thank you for that. Looking at our next question here. So let's see. How would you remove the L series when you want to get rid of like L-88? L-88, these are our fashion lights. So for those of you that don't know, L-88 is something that can give you up to 4 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair. What? It's these shades right here. So this right here is L-88. It's this red shade. It's going to give you that up to 5 levels of lift in this really vibrant red shade. Now, if you're going to try to remove this immediately, then it might be really difficult to remove. But what I will say is these colors fade to how do I want to say this? You've lifted that hair underneath. So when it fades, it's just going to lift, it's going to fade on tone, but have a little bit of that lifted undertone to it. So it's already been lifted. So when I want to refresh, I read it with Vibrance. I don't need to use fashion lights again. It's already pre-lightened. I can put Vibrance right over top of it. However, if I'm going to remove this, the good news is it removes fairly easily. There are other brands that have these vivid colors that give lift and then give that deposit, and some of them are impossible to get out of the hair. But with this, it's actually quite easy. It'll already start to fade out and start to be a pretty softer shade of red. And then when you go to put a lightener on it, it actually just softly, gently lifts out. So it's not hard to remove at all. You can either use a color remover or you can use a low volume developer with your lightener of choice, and it will easily remove that pigment. So you don't have to be scared to use these fashion lights. They actually remove quite easily, which is fantastic. That's one of my favorite parts. So hopefully that answered your question there, and good luck if you're trying to remove it. Don't forget, if you have more questions, to book your one-on-one appointment with an educator on our Switch with skp.com page. So let's go on to our next question here. How is Osis elastic before, during, or after a blow dry? Okay, so Osis elastic. Osis, for those of you that don't know, Osis is actually a retail line that we have, and I'm obsessed. It's such a good styling line, and Osis elastic is a light hold hairspray. What I love about Osis elastic, it's got humidity resistance, it's got heat protection up to 450 degrees, and it is an excellent spray for setting curls. The reason being is it's super flexible, elastic hairspray. So when you put it in, it doesn't create hard curls. It actually gets out of the hair very easily. So to your question, during or after blow dry, I would utilize elastic after your blow dry, right before you're about to set the hair with other things. And then we have our freeze. So our Osis freeze is a stronger hold, and you can use your freeze to then be your final hairspray to give you that hold. And it's also buildable has that humidity resistance and also is going to have that heat protection up to 450 degrees. Now, if you did use OSIS Elastic before blow dry, it's not going to hurt the hair. It's such a fine hairspray. Gives shine to the hair too, so it wouldn't hurt it. It's just meant for after. So next up, where do we get a comparison chart? For your comparison chart, if you have a sales rep, they can get that to you, and it's a great place to go. The other thing you might do is go to our switchwithskp.com page. On that page, we have a ton of information that you can download, and you might be able to find something like that there. So go check it out if you haven't been to our Switch with SKP page. That should be there for you. How often should a copper hair with vibrance have a touch-up? Great question. This is a loaded question because we all know copper hair does like to fade, but we all know that we live in different areas. So are you somebody with copper hair that lives out in the sunshine in California and you're outside every day? Or are you somewhere in Seattle where it's cloudy most of the time and you don't get a lot of? That's going to determine how often. Also, are you the person that does the copper shade? Hold on just a second. We need to turn my volume down over here. Okay, perfect. So are you somebody that does just one copper shade, or do you do a gloss over top of to really make that copper last longer? That's going to make a difference. But in general, I would say every 4 to 6 weeks is an excellent time to refresh your copper. What I love about our copper shades is they really fade to the most beautiful, just lighter version of what they started with. A great idea of that is that my color that I have here got to this point because I did a copper shade that was really intense and it was vibrant and I loved it, but it started to fade and I loved what it faded to. So this last time that I did my hair, I retouched the new growth, put a couple low lights through, and all I did is put a shimmer of 10-57 in Vibrance, which is a brand new shade that we have. It's a level 10 and it's a gold copper. So we took that toner by itself and we put all over everything to just give that light little shine. So in general, I'd say about every 4 to 6 weeks with Vibrance is a good option. Now, if somebody's out in the sun, it might be closer to 4 weeks. If somebody's in, say, Seattle, they might be able to stretch it to 8 weeks. So just like most hair colors, approximately 4 to 6 weeks. So next up, let's see. If you haven't been, go ahead and type in your questions. We're here to answer any of them for you. So our next question we have is, what is the difference between BlondMe toners versus Vibrance Level 10 toners? Great question. So I talked about this just a minute ago as far as the difference in technology. So the technology between your Vibrance toners and your BlondMe toners is very similar. The name is a little different, so I'll just talk about the technology itself. They both use a technology that is a combination of vitamins B3 and B5 in combination with molecules. What this does is it crystallizes on the outside of that hair strand, creating a super shiny end result and also maintaining the moisture on the inside of the hair. Both of them have that technology. Your biggest difference is that your BlondMe toners are pH neutral. pH neutral, if we're thinking of a pH system, if you're acidic, pH neutral is a 7 on the pH scale. Anything below 7 is acidic, anything above 7 is considered alkaline. Our hair likes to live right at 4.5 pH level. However, anything that has color is going to have higher than 4.5. So for it to be acidic, it has to be under a 7 and above a 4.5, and alkaline is above a 7. So with Vibrance, we're above a 7, so we can open that hair cuticle, get that color into the hair, which means you could shift the base of the hair. Whereas our Vibrance is pH neutral. It sits right at that level 7. Going to be something that's going to sit more on the outside of the hair strand. Overall, it's just not going to give the lift. That's the biggest. Now, the other difference, because you're specifically asking about level 10 toners, is going to be what shades we have. So in our BlondMe series, we only have a few shades that I would say sit at a level 10. So when we're looking at these shades here, these are our toners in BlondMe. The only ones that sit at a level 10 in BlondMe are going to be your ice, sand, and biscuit. So these three right here in the middle sit at a level 10. The other ones are closer to a 9.5 series. So if you want to get technical, our ice in BlondMe is very similar to 9.5-1. Our sand is very similar to 9.5-4, which is beige. And our biscuit would be similar to maybe 9. Sorry, I said 9.5. What I meant was level 10. 10-1, which is going to be our level 10 cendre. -4, which is level 10, and that's at beige. We don't really have a level 10 that's like the biscuit. The biscuit would be like if we had a level 10 that was a -4-6, which is a beige chocolate. So the biggest difference is that we only have 3 that sit at a level 10, and then also that difference between pH neutral versus alkaline. So hopefully that helped you out there. Essentially, if you're not looking for any lift whatsoever, your level 10s in your BlondMe range will be pH neutral. Typically, you're not going to get lift with Vibrance unless somebody has really fine hair. But if you're using level 10 toners in Vibrance, it's very important you only use 6 volume. It's a very sheer pigment weight. If you use 13 volume, it might be too much to kick some of that pigment out. So only 6 volume for level 10 toners, but hopefully that answered that question. With that 6 volume, you should not get lift, but if you absolutely can't get lift, that's where you go to the BlondMe toners. So great question. Next question we have here. What is the difference? Okay, so that's the same one. Best toner to get rid of brass on what was a bright blonde. I have the best answer for you. That is anything that is a 9.5 series or level 10-1. -1 is that cendre. If you want to think of it in other terms, you could think of it like a pearl. It's that blue violet, very soft blue violet color tone. What does blue violet counteract? Yellow orange. So in those higher levels that you're talking about on those brighter blondes, I would either use a level 10-1 or a 9.5-1. If you're at that lower level 9, then 9.5-1 is going to be perfect. On this swatch, it looks like it has almost a hint of a silvery. I'm telling you right now, it's the break the brass. It's anti-yellow. It's going to get rid of that. These are put on white swatches so you see exactly what those undertones are. So only our toners are put on white swatches. Everything else is put on level. So for instance, a level 7 copper is put on a level 7 swatch, so you know exactly what it's going to look like. However, our toners are put on clear swatches, so you can see that tonal direction. So on your 10-1, same thing. If you're at that pale yellow, like inside of banana peel yellow, and you want to eliminate the rest of it, the 10-1 is perfection. It's literally just going to kick out the yellow and leave you with a nice cool tone. So next question here, how do we know a perfect combination from the color wheel? Well, the color wheel, or color circle as we like to call it here at is a very helpful tool. So in your color circle, now we've actually revamped our color circle and we have some more information for you. But on your color circle, you'll see on the outside of the color circle, there are different color combinations. Those color combinations are where our colors live on the color circle. If you notice, the middle of the color circle is darker. As you get to the outer edges, it's lighter. That determines your different levels of hair color. So when you're looking at the color circle, if I'm seeing an orange or a red-orange tone, I like to come across the color circle and find something across the color circle that's going to counteract orange. So for instance, if I look at -67, -67 is a chocolate copper. If I'm trying to get rid of chocolate copper, I come across the circle, and what sits right across that is a -21. The -21 is a blue violet. So it's going to be that ash cendre. So just to give you a visual, I'm going to hold up this swatch book so you can see me as I determine this. If we're looking at this and I'm seeing orange over here, I'm going to come across this color circle and find a color combination here that's going to counteract the orange that's here. By the same token, if I want to enhance something, if I'm copper and I want it to be more gold, I can come this way on the color circle. If I want it to be more red, I can come this way. So come across the color circle, determine what you would use to counteract or neutralize, and go side to side to enhance. So hopefully that helped you. It really does help you find those perfect combinations. If you know what you have, you just have to bear in mind that hair has underlying warmth. So if you're creating lift, you have to add that into your formula. If I'm lifting to a level 7 from a level 5, I'm going to have an orange undertone. So I need to have a blue in my formula for that. So I'll use my color circle to go onto the orange. So hopefully that helped you out. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it. Again, if you have a more in-depth question, don't forget to go to our switchwithskp.com page. Book your one-on-one appointment with an educator, and they can answer any specific questions you have. All right, so next up, for a low light form in a base level 8, 9, and 10, going dark to level 5, 6, 7, what developer would you recommend? Okay, amazing. Okay, so this is a question. if you're going to put low lights in, what activator or developer? Well, if we're going darker, we're just depositing. So anytime you're depositing, you want to use the lowest volume developer. You don't need a higher developer because a higher developer, especially in a permanent color, can create lift. We don't need lift. Just one deposit. So if you're in Vibrance, our recommended developer is going to be a 6 volume. So if you're going darker into a darker low light formula, I would choose my 6 volume activator. For low lights, I prefer to use my lotion because the lotion gives me more precise ability for application. Now, if I am in Agora Royale, this one's 20 volume, but I wouldn't recommend 20. I would recommend 10 volume. So if you are low lighting with your permanent Agora Royale, 10 volume is all I would use if I were you. So hopefully that answered that question. Moving on to the next question here. Let's see what we've got. Can I use 20 volume Agora Royale Vibrance to lift dark base number 3? Okay, I think your question is, can I use 20 volume with Vibrance to lift somebody from a dark base number 3? And the answer to that would be no. In Vibrance, you're not using Vibrance for lift. Vibrance is for deposit. It's not meant to give lift. Now, I know I have mentioned lift when I've talked about Vibrance. The lift that I'm talking about is just on the virgin hair, and it's only up to a half level or 1 level on fine hair, and it's only when you utilize your 13 volume activator that you can experience that lift. If you're looking to lift somebody from a dark base number 3 and you're trying to lift them, you're going to want to use our Agora Royale hair color. And the only way that you're going to get lift from a level 3 above is if it's not previously colored. If it's previously colored hair, color cannot lift color predictably. So using 20 volume isn't going to give you that lift. However, if it is a virgin level 3 and you wanted to get some lift, you could utilize your Agora Royale shade with a 20 or 30 or even 40 volume developer, and that can help you to get that extra lift. Just remember, know how many levels you want to go up. If you're going from a level 3 to say a level 5, I know I can get up to 2 levels of lift with a 20 volume. Well, 2 levels of lift is a level 5, but with coarse hair, it may not get there. So I always say go 1 volume lighter than you think you need to. So for a level 5, if I was trying to take her to a level 5, I might take, say, a 5-1, which is our Cendré, mixed with 30 volume developer to make sure I get that up to 3 levels of lift, which means it ensures I get 2 levels of lift because the pigment load in my Agora Royale is going to be that level 5. So it's not going to get lighter than a level 5, but it's going to allow me to get that lift. So hopefully that answered that question. If you're trying to go lighter than that, that's where those fashion lights that we were talking about before come in. So if I want to get lift on previously colored hair, so that was just talking about virgin, if they have colored their hair previously, that's where fashion lights come in. These are in that purple box. It's the L-00, L-44. So in these L-00 lift, there's not pigment. It's going to give you the lift though, whereas L-44 has that beige pigment weight. So you can use L-44 to lift somebody from a level 3 and you get up to 5 levels of lift. So it could take you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, potentially to a level 7 or 8. So this would give you a nice caramel highlight in that level 3. So try out our fashion lights if you haven't. They are recommended to be used with your 40 volume Agora Royale developer. Just remember they're off scalp only, meant to be balayaged or foiled in. You always get more lift in foils than you do in open air. So for that, for what you're looking for, depending on how much lift, you might use your fashion and highlight that in. So hopefully that answered your question. For a more thorough answer, if you have a specific client, again, book that one-on-one appointment from our switchwithskp.com page. All right, let's see what the next question is. Which bleach is better for fragile hair, BlondMe versus Agora Vario Blonde? Excellent question. So BlondMe has several lighteners, but the one most people know is BlondMe 9 Plus. BlondMe 9 Plus is a very strong lightener. And I say that in a way of it's my Volvo of lighteners that's going to get me where I need to go and it's going to get me there quickly. Vario Blonde is my Volvo. It's going to slowly but surely get me to where I need to go. So it's more controlled. So the best answer to that is use your Vario Blonde lightener if you have somebody with more fragile hair. My hair is more fragile. I only use Vario Blonde. But remember, we do also have 2 lighteners in BlondMe that are not the super strong Ferrari. We also have our clay lightener, which is meant for hand painting and only gives you up to 7 levels of lift. I would use that on a fragile hair, or our precision lightener, our precision lightener gives you up to 7 levels of lift. It's an on-scalp lightener that has a temperature balancing complex that's going to help give a cooling sensation on the scalp. So if you're doing a universal bleaching tone, actually our BlondMe precision lightener is amazing for that. Now, precision lightener can also be foiled into the hair. So for fragile hair, you have 4 options really. You can utilize your BlondMe clay lightener if you're balayaging. You can use your precision lightener for bleach and tone shades or highlighting. Those are excellent BlondMe options. You can also use your Vario Blonde Plus and your Vario Blonde Super Plus. So you have 4 options for fragile hair. I would just steer away from BlondMe 9 Plus because with my hair, it's too much power. It lifts too quickly. So maybe steer away from that one, but all of our other lighteners will be great for fragile hair. But remember, every lightener does have that bonding technology in it. So we are protecting those bonds as they lift. So hopefully that answered your question. Next question that we have here. L-00 is stronger than the highlight in the blue box. So I think what you mean by highlight in the blue box is our high lift color. So high lift color is completely different than fashion lights, which is what I think you mean with the L-00. So L-00 I've talked about a lot today. It's those fashion lights. They come in a purple box, and you can see the top of the swatch is purple. That box is about that color. It's like this color, but like purple, you know, a lilac. So that's your fashion lights. L-00 is going to have up to 5 levels of lift. My 12 series also has up to 5 levels of lift. The biggest difference between the two, high lift series cannot lift through previously colored hair. So if that hair has been previously colored, this is not going to give you the lift that you want. But this will lift through previously colored hair. So it's not that this has more power than this. It's just that this can lift through previously colored hair up to 5 levels, and this is only going to give you up to 5 on virgin hair. So hopefully that makes sense to you. But essentially, if it's previously colored hair, fashion lights are your go-to. If it's virgin hair, I love using the high lift blue box. So next question we have here, what else is here? Is okay. So Blow and Go is probably a product that we might have had in Germany, not here. It's not something that we had here. So as far as if it's coming back, I don't have that answer for you, but you might check the global site, find out if it's there. So next question, when you recommend using Agora Color 10, when would you recommend? Okay, Color 10. That's a great question. So I have told some salons about Color 10. It's a permanent hair color that can give you 100% gray coverage in 10 minutes, in just 10 minutes. So the salons that I've talked to where I'm like, oh, you can get a gray coverage in 10 minutes. Like, why would I use anything else? Like, can't this just be all over color? It could be, but if you're a client, if you're a stylist or color that likes to book in between colors, Color 10 may not be your option. Here's when I like to use Color 10. Couple of options. One, my client walks in 20 minutes late, one of these. We've all been there, right? Now all of a sudden you're going to throw my whole day off and you were 20 minutes late. How am I going to catch up? Color 10. That's my answer. This is going to help me catch up because now I'm going to color your hair with Agora Color 10, knowing that I can do your retouch now and have it processed in that 10 to 15 minutes. The other time I might use Color 10, if you have a client that needs to get their hair colored every 3 weeks, maybe every 6 weeks you do the full Agora Royale color because you're doing highlights as well. But on that in between 3-week appointment, they don't want to sit there for 45 minutes. So I might choose this and maybe I'm just doing a T-zone, like right around the hairline, right around their part line, and just quickly applying and letting it process for those 10 minutes. The other time, maybe somebody had mentioned, you know what, like, I love this haircut. I've never colored my hair, but I've been toying with the idea of highlights around the face. Well, guess what? We have 2 high lift colors in this range, which may not be in this book, but there's an 11-0 and an 11-2. Those will give you up to 4 levels of lift and in one step. So if that client is a level 6 or above, I can actually throw in just a few highlights right around the hairline, make that ticket a little higher, make that money, and have them done very quickly. So that's another way. My favorite way to use Color 10, men's white blending. Men do not like to sit in the chair for long, nor do they necessarily want people to know they're coloring their hair. So Color 10 has a few cooler shades, and those cooler shades are the -1-2 series, which again may not be in this book. It could have fallen out. -1, that's that Cendré Ash. There's a level 5, a level 7, and a level 9. Those are the coolest shades in color 10 for men's white blending. Use that with your 10 volume IGORA Royale developer for just 5 minutes. It's the perfect gray blending for men. So men's white blending. So when would I use color 10 versus IGORA? Well, when I want to do a T-zone in between appointment, when my client shows up late with their Starbucks in hand, or maybe little highlights around the face, men's white blending, or if you just want to have a lunchtime service. So if you're trying to build clientele, sometimes that's difficult. If you can offer a lunchtime service in the salon where you retouch with 10 and then they're done with their hair in 1 hour and come back to the office, still go to their kids' games, they're going to love you. Just remember, color 10 is a premium option. You pay more for an oil change that's done in 30 minutes or less. You pay less for one that takes a long time if you're willing to wait. So just remember, you can charge more if you're using color 10 because that is an expedited service. So next question here. Do you recommend IGORA Silver Whites for gray blending instead of Vibrance Toner for longer lasting in between color services? I've used both, to be honest. It depends on what you want to do with it. So Silver Whites only have 4 shades. So in your Silver Whites, you're going to have a silver, which is the lightest of the shades. You have your Dove Gray, which is a medium gray, Gray Lilac, which is a medium gray with a gray lilac undertone, and then your Slate Gray. Now, what I'll say is these are meant to be true total refiners for natural silver white hair. So they're going to keep that hair looking silver. The only one, if I'm truly looking for a white blending service, the white blending, this Slate Gray is really great to use if somebody's naturally like a level 5 and they have these dark white pieces. Slate Gray is going to just tone those dark white pieces to a darker gray. It's not truly giving you gray coverage. So it depends on what you're trying to see. So as far as lasting longer, they both act like a demi-permanent. So your longevity is going to be similar. The biggest difference is this is going to be an ammonia-based color. Vibrance is alkaline, but it utilizes an MEA, monoethylenolamine. It took me a while to be able to pronounce that name, but I finally have it. So they're different technologies. Technically, the ammonia might get a little bit deeper into that hair strand, but the benefit with the Silver Whites is they were actually meant for the mature client. So they have that pro-age complex is a combination of ciliamines that are going to smooth that hair cuticle and collagen to fill in brittle sites. So this was actually meant for the mature client to have that. I would say for coarse resistant white hair, you might get better results from the Silver Whites, but at the same time, they're both going to have about the same longevity. These last up to 20 shampoos, whereas Vibrance lasts up to 25 shampoos. So by that math, technically maybe Vibrance is longer, but Vibrance is only in anything that's a level 9 or below that it lasts up to 25 shampoos. If you're using toners in Vibrance, that's up to 12 shampoos. So if I'm using toners, maybe I want to use Silver Whites. So that's a dual fold question. I can use both. This one's up to 20 shampoos. If I'm in a toner series in Vibrance, up to 12 shampoos. Try them both. You tell me what you felt like lasted longer for your client, but they're both going to be great options. Just the Silver Whites were specifically for your silver clients. Again, if you have questions that I wasn't able to answer, or maybe that wasn't the answer you were looking for, don't forget to book your one-on-one appointment with an educator. Okay, so next question, what is your favorite toner for a brunette? So what I'm assuming here with this question by brunette is that you're thinking maybe I'm a level 5, 6, and I'm only lifting to like caramel highlights. That's kind of where I'm thinking here on this. So let's talk about if I wanted like a great, medium brunette highlight toner. So I've already talked about these, but I seriously love our nude shades. The -46 is so pretty. So 6-46 is available and 8-46 is available. So if my highlights are up to a level 8 and I want to tone at a level 8, I love using these nude toners. They're so beautiful because it's got that beige first and then chocolate. So it's got some warmth, but a hint of coolness with that beige. It's just a stunning color. So it's almost like this milk chocolate color, if you will, a little softer than chocolate. So love using the -46 series. That one's excellent when I'm trying to tone brunettes. And again, it depends on what level you are as to what toner you want to use. Most of the time, I'm going to be toning with Vibrance. If you're thinking of like a copper toner, like maybe something that has a little bit of warmth, you can come over onto this page. Again, I mean, if I've lifted somebody, say, from a level 3 to like a level 6, I've got some really great options here. If you want a hint of red, I love utilizing the Dash 6-8 series. It's a chocolate red. I call them the cherry cola of the line. They literally look like this beautiful chocolate shade, but when the sun hits, it reflects this little bit of red. So I love utilizing those as well, or just having a soft bit of copper. So even like the 7-57 or 9, I'm sorry, these are the Dash 55. However, 7-57 and 9-57, you might have noticed copper is coming back. So if you're looking for some great copper shades, these are amazing. So copper is coming back, and so is gold. People are going for warmer versus cooler. But if you're looking, so I think even though mushroom brown was a trend a while ago, it still is something that is around. We have level 5 and a level 6-16. That's that cendre chocolate. So think of a very smoky chocolate shade. The cendre in this, or that blue violet, is more intense. So you get a really great result. So maybe try the 5-16 or 6-16. So again, for favorite formulas, there were a couple options for you. Some on the cooler side, some on the warmer side. Just depends on what you want and depends on what level you want. So hopefully that helps. If you want some more specific, again, book your one-on-one appointment with your Ask Expert at our switch with skp.com. Okay, I actually love this next question because blue black is such a stunning color and so hard to maintain and figure out what to do. So how would you refresh a blue black with Vibrance since there's no 3-22 or 1-1? My biggest recommendation for you is to do a 3-0. I know that's not quite black, but you're close. Actually, there is a 1-0. So we don't have a 1-1. You're correct, but we do have a 1-0. So you can use your 1-0. And we have boosters and neutralizers over here. Neutralizers are meant to neutralize out your unwanted tones. However, 0-22 here is 0-22 is blue. It's ash extra. It's literally a booster. It says neutralizer, but in a 1-1 scenario, you can actually mix 0-22 into your 1-1. If you add this in, the 0-22, its blue is going to last only up to 12 shampoos, whereas the 1-1 will last up to 25. So that's the only downside. But if you mix 1-0 and add in 0-22, you can add as much 0-22 as you want. I would recommend you grab some swatches and you swatch out different amounts of 0-22 in your formula. With this, the recommended amount, usually we say with boosters and neutralizers, only up to 50% of your formula with added developer. Now with neutralizers, those rules are different if you don't want to see the shade. But because you want to see that blue, you could use a lot more of the 0-22. So you can add up to 50% of your formula in with your 1-1. So try that out. Half your formula 1-0, half your formula 0-22. Try that and let me know how that works for you. I had a stylist in a salon one time. You know, she used 0-2 by itself and used that as her color formula. That is not what it's meant for, but I will tell you her hair was beautiful. It was this like velvety, like really intense blue, and because the blue is a deeper shade already, it read dark. So I don't know, play around with the 0-22, but that's going to be your answer. I know there's not a level 3-22. However, 0-22 is your friend, and use that with the 1-0. All right, so next up, if your client comes like, okay, if your client comes like your kind of hair color, but client needs chocolate blonde, which number can we use? Okay, I'm a little confused by this question, so I'm going to just clarify it here. If a client comes in for a kind of color, but the client needs chocolate blonde, I'm going to go with a toner. So I think that if we're talking about toning and having a bit of a chocolate shade, in our toners, we actually have a shade that's 9.5-46. And 9.5-46 is a beige chocolate. It gives you this beautiful champagne color, which is going to have almost this hint of a rosé. While that's not necessarily chocolate, it's a beautiful champagne. And for the highlights, that could be amazing. And maybe then her base color has a chocolate in it. So there's lots of different chocolate options, but one of the underutilized chocolate shades missing in this one, so I'll show it in a different one, is -65. -65 is going to be a chocolate gold. So if you want chocolate, but you don't want to see a red undertone, you just don't mind warmth, the -65 is amazing. So even if you want to tone with the -65 series, we do have a 9-65. So a level 9 chocolate gold. This is great to create a little bit of a chocolate in your lighter blonde shades, but there's also everything from a level 3 all the way up to a level 9, which makes it amazing for you to be able to create some different chocolate shades, but also have that gold reflection. So hopefully, if you haven't tried it yet, try those chocolate gold shades. No matter what shade of blonde you're looking for, I think those will be amazing for you. So next question, what volume peroxide do you like for dark deposit only vibrant? Okay, so dark deposit. So what I'm thinking here is I want a vibrant red or I want a vibrant violet, but like I need it to be a deep shade as well. And what would I recommend there? So if you're using IGORA Royale, I always say 10 volume. 10 volume is all you need. It's already going to be enough to kind of swell open that hair cuticle and it'll give you what you need. However, in Vibrance, I actually prefer utilizing 13 volume when I want a vibrant result. So with Vibrance, 6 volume will give me the deposit I want, but if I want something like a 6-99, level 6 violet extra, or I want a 5-88, a level 5 red extra, or I mix the two together and I want this really rich wine color, I like to use 13 volume. Anytime I'm doing reds, no matter what level red, if I'm depositing red, I will use 13 volume. That's going to keep that vibrancy and intensity to the color. So I prefer to refresh with Vibrance, and I would utilize your 13 volume activator. So next question, which products and methods do you think are best for toning a very stubborn brassy level 7, 8 without darkening it? Isn't that a loaded question? A level 7, level 8 is going to have an orange or a yellow-orange undertone. So you need something that has a blue, but also something that has a cendre. But then it's a conundrum, right? Because blue and cendre are cool shades. Cool shades up here, what? Deeper. So it's almost always going to look a little bit deeper. So what I would recommend is only tone on those brassy level 7, level 8. Start by trying to tone with a level 8. Because if you go down to a level 7, it's going to go too deep. For sure, it's going to appear too deep to the eye because a level 7 is already a deep shade. And then I'm putting it on a level 8, it's going to make it look darker. But no matter what, anytime you're putting a cooler shade, you're going to appear somewhat deeper. That's just how it works. There's more reflectiveness with yellow or orange. But some of my recommendations, if I'm going to be at a level 8, the -24, because you want to keep a little bit of that warmth. The -24 is ash first. So that's that blue. It's going to kick out the unwanted orange, but it has that beige. So it's going to maintain or some of that warmth, which is going to keep some of the reflection, to keep the brightness, to keep it at that level 7, level 8. So if you haven't tried the -24, which is a level 7 or a level 9, so I would mix those two equal parts to create my own level 8. Maybe even add a little more of the level 9 than the level 8. But again, I would buy some swatches. I like to go on Amazon, get the swatch rings. They have some that are straight up orange. Test out some different formulas of the -24. The other thing that we have that I love, try using, I know it's a level 9, but it's a -12. So maybe add a little 9-12, which is going to be that cendre ash. And that's going to help to kick out some of that yellow orange. And again, it depends on how much orange. If it's mainly orange, I want more blue. If it's mainly yellow with almost a little bit of orange, that's when you would use more so the cendre, which is that -1, and then less of that. But -24 is an excellent option for you if you haven't tried it, part of our Muted Desert collection. Okay, next question. If you use 4% Vibrance, do you get a tad greater deposit for gray hair than Royale with 3%? No, I would actually say no on that one. So just to clarify, for anyone who's not utilizing our color line, Vibrance is going to be our demi-permanent color line. You can get up to 70% gray blending with Vibrance. That's blending. Now, I have seen gray coverage with this before. On fine hair, I have seen up to 100% gray coverage, but it's meant to be gray blending. With 13 volume, and if you add a -00 into your formula, you can get up to 70% gray blending. However, in IGORA Royale, with 10 volume IGORA Royale developer, I can actually achieve 100% gray coverage on a fine hair texture. It's on coarser hair that you may not get as much deposit. So I would say in general, you're still going to get more deposit with IGORA Royale and 10 volume than you would utilizing Vibrance with 13 volume. So hopefully that answers that question. I like to use 10 volume IGORA Royale on my hair, mainly because I like the extra vibrancy I get with it. I could easily switch myself over to Vibrance. And again, it's going to be just a slightly softer coverage. But that's an excellent question. I think it's something a lot of people ask. So I appreciate you bringing that one up. Okay, so my client is a level 4 brunette, already colored hair, who wants to be lighter without bleaching. Isn't that like so many of our clients? They come in, well, I want to go lighter, but please don't use bleach because it's so hard on my hair. I know it can be hard on the hair, but so can a high lift color. So I think sometimes it's knowledge is power. But in those instances, you want an opportunity to lighten their hair without a bleach. So does Agora Fashion Lines give me that slight shift to a level 5 and 6? Absolutely. It probably might even give you more than a slight shift. But what you can do is only use 30 volume with the Fashion Lines rather than 40 volume to give you that softer shift. Because for a previously colored number 4, level 4, I'm getting up to 5 levels of lift. So that means technically I could get up to a level 9. Probably won't. If they've been coloring their hair a level 4 for years, chances are they might get to a level 7, 8 at most. If you want to get to just a level 5, 6, you might even start by doing a color remover just to shift that color a little bit. With 6 volume in our color remover, you can get up to 1 or 2 levels of lift. That might take you right where you need to go. With our 10 volume, you can get up to 3 levels of lift. So technically, you could do the color remover with 10 volume, get that 3 levels of lift, and then tone it the color you want. There are several ways to achieve what you want, but Fashion Lights can break through previously colored hair, so they can give you that lift to get you lighter. So hopefully that answered that question. If you want a more thorough explanation, again, go to our switchwithskp.com page and you can find your answer there and book your one-on-one appointment. So next question that we have here. Can you explain how to use BlondMe Base Breaker? Absolutely. So BlondMe Base Breaker, you might be like, what is that? It's part of our BlondMe range. So it comes, in a box that looks more like this. I know I have some color on this still, but it's a shorter box. It's actually going to be more this size box, and it actually does come in a bottle. There are 3 shades. There's soft cool, cool, and extra cool. What is a base break anyways? A base break is going to shift the natural base of the hair so that the difference between the highlights and the lowlights isn't too much. Because if somebody has, say, level 6 hair and they've lifted their highlights to level 10, that difference is a lot, and it can look a little stripy. And more natural blonde is becoming popular. So you can shift that natural base 1 to 2 levels to bring the color closer together so there's not as much of a difference and it's a softer look. With our base breakers, it's super easy. You're using your base breaker equal parts with either 7 volume or 20 volume BlondMe developer. If your client has super fine hair, I would say 7 volume is enough. If they have fine to medium to coarse hair, I would recommend 20 volume. The 7 volume on coarse hair doesn't give much shift. So I like to use 20 volume when I'm on a coarser medium to coarse texture. If I'm on fine or super fine hair, then 7 volume or mix. I've actually mixed 7 and 20 together, and sometimes that's the most beautiful end result. But essentially, you're just going to take the base breaker comes in a bottle, looks just like the Vibrance. It'll come in the box first and then have the bottle. So you'll pour the liquid in with your BlondMe developer, either 7 volume or 20 volume. I like to put it right in a bottle because it has a great consistency for bottle application. And there's a couple of ways you can apply it. If you've already highlighted the hair and you want to put this on at the shampoo bowl, you can simply apply it on at the shampoo bowl. If you're going to do that, I recommend only utilizing soft cool. Soft cool has a very slight toning to it, so it's going to keep the lift cooler, but it's not going to deposit too much on the highlights. It might deposit like what a 9.5-1 would deposit, which is like that break the brass anti-yellow. If you use soft cool, that's when you'll see that slight deposit. If you use cool or extra cool, you might see more deposit on the highlights. The other thing I love to do is utilize this in between foils. So I'll usually foil the hair first. While the foils are processing, I like to take my base breaker with 10 or 20 volume and just use my bottle and apply it right in between the foils super quick. By the time I've applied it, I only need 10-minute processing time for the base breakers. So my foils have already sat and started to process, so they might be already ready by the time my base breaker is done. So it's an excellent option. I also love to use base breaker in between my highlighted color services. If a client likes to come in every 4 weeks for a highlight, sometimes trying to get that regrowth is hard. So maybe you could recommend doing a base break in between so they don't notice the difference of the highlights at the base. And so you can use it in a bottle and just quickly apply that as a regrowth application. I also did transform one of the employees here was a stand-in on hair for another model. And for coloring her hair, I actually utilized base break. If I wanted to lift some hair and they have virgin hair, I took the base breaker with 20 volume all over and gave her this natural lift. It's only one, maybe two levels of lift at most. And it just gave nice natural lift, like she was just sun-kissed. It was beautiful. So even if you have somebody who's a brunette, never, but they're like, I want to go just a little bit lighter, base breaker. I've seen people use the extra cool base breaker on like a level 4 and put that all over just to get that slight shift and slightly lighter color. So there's multiple ways to use base breaker, but its reason was to shift the base in between your highlights. And it's only 7 or 20 volume for 10 minutes is all you need. So hopefully that answered that question. I love our base breakers. If you haven't yet, 100% get them in your salon. You're going to use them every day. Don't forget, if you had a more thorough question for that, book your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert. All right, so next question. If I want to use a root cover in level 9 or 10, what base shade should I use? One thing I want to make apparent, a level 9 will give you 100% gray coverage depending on what you're using. A level 10 goes into our high lift series, so it's not going to give you 100% gray coverage. So there's multiple options if you're going for gray coverage on a level 9 or level 10. This doesn't necessarily say gray coverage, so you're just saying what color. But in general, anything that's a level 9 in IGORA Royale will give you 100% gray coverage, and anything in a level 10 is only going to be up to 30% gray coverage. So for level 9, 10, typically if I'm taking somebody to a level 9 or 10, everybody, I'm going to repeat this, everybody has warmth. Everybody has underlying warmth. For that client that comes and says, oh, my hair tends to go warm, everybody's hair tends to go warm. So that being said, I always formulate cooler whenever I'm using a permanent hair color for a level 9 or 10. So I like to utilize either a -1, which is a Sandra, or maybe an 8, like I know this is a level 8, but 8-11 is also an option. But like in our level 9, -1 is going to be your coolest formula. But I also, if they don't have gray, like to add in my neutralizers as I'm lifting. If I'm a level 10 and they don't have gray, my best options in level 10 are going to be like a 10-21. That's going to have that counteraction for that warmth, or maybe even a 10-1 here. Those are going to be my go-tos. Now, if I want warmth, then maybe do like a 9-0. But the benefit and beauty of anything on this page is that everything gets 100% gray coverage. So the -1, 9-1, gives me 100% gray coverage, and it's going to give me that up to 3-4 levels of lift, depending on what I'm looking for. So that answers that question. You can always book your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert to get more of an answer. Okay. So next question. I know this might have been asked earlier, but favorite low light formula. I feel like it never hurts to hear this again. So favorite low light formula. Some of my favorite things in Vibrance to use for low lights are the -4-6 series. -4-6 is that beige chocolate. It gives just enough warmth and then leaves this little bit of a result. Like it just is a beautiful nude tone for hair. It's perfect for low lighting. There is a level 8. So I love using the 8-4-6. Some other options. -4-2 is going to be my beige, and that's going to have, oh, there we go. -4-2. These are another amazing low light option because it's got that beige first, but has a little bit of the ash, so it gives you this beautiful natural tone. With any of these, I like to add just a smudge of a gold into my formula. And right now, gold low lights are very popular. And as we're going into fall, some other things I like to add in, because fall to me, warmer tones, that's probably part of the reason they're becoming popular. Warmer tones just like feel more fall-like. So I've been adding just a little bit of 9-65. I know there's a level 7 as well, but level 9-65. You can mix that with a 7-65 to create a level 8. Love using these for low lights or mixing them into my low light formula. Or I know it may sound crazy, 9-7. I've been either using it as a low light formula for this really pretty, I don't know if you've seen it, but everyone's doing these blonde clients with these soft copper strawberry blonde low lights, and it's stunning. 9-7, phenomenal for that. I also love mixing 9-57, which is a gold copper, into my formula. So lots of formula options. Depends on if you want to stay warm or cool. The -42 is going to be on the cooler side. Your golds and your gold coppers are going to be a little on the warmer side, but like the new tones, I would say is a good go-to, the -46, but lots of options. I'm sure there's a lot more that I have, but those are some of my favorites off the top of my head. Next question. Okay, so this question, if the L-7 is gone for good, can you make a similar tone? So I just want to make it apparent that L-77 is not gone for good. L-77, if you can't get a hold of it, it will be coming back. L-77 is a fashion lights that is going to give you that up to 5 levels of lift and that copper tone. Technically, you might be able to use the L-44 and add some 0-77 to your formula. The only difference is you might dilute the lifting capability. So I would watch how much 0-77 you're putting in. So if you are missing it for right now, try using L-44 with a little 0-77. Hopefully that'll get you by, but rest assured, 0- or L-77 is not going away. So if you can't get a hold of it, look later. I'm sure you'll have it. So next question, I have a base of 4 with 25% gray. Please recommend a nice global color. So because you're only 25% gray, you can use anything in IGORA Royale and use that for 4, or if you want, honestly, if there's no gray, like you have only 25% gray, you can actually utilize anything in Vibrance as well. In Vibrance, you're going to have a natural shade. You've got a cooler shade of the -13 if you want to keep them on the cooler side. One of my favorites at a level 4 is 4-46. This really rich beige chocolate. So because there's only 25% gray, you don't really need to formulate for gray coverage. You're going to get an excellent result. So anything that's a level 4, you can utilize. All right, so we only have 3 minutes left, so we've got a couple, one, maybe 2 questions. Next question, when do you use 13 volume and Vibrance? Excellent one. I love this one. So 13 volume and Vibrance, 3 times you would use it. 1 is for maximum gray blending. When I'm looking for that maximum gray blending in the Demi-permanent, 13 volume. 2, when I want to get extra vibrancy in my reds, I'm going to definitely want that 13 volume to give me the vibrancy. 3, most opaque coverage in our Demi-permanent, which means changing tone. If I wanted to change from this red and I wanted to go brunette but not see any of the red undertone, I would utilize 13 volume for that most opaque coverage. So gray coverage, vibrancy in reds, changing the tone, 13 volume. All right, so 2 more minutes. Okay, copper shade. I mean, copper is so popular right now. What's on my hair? Let's go there. So I just colored mine last week. And so on my hair, for my regrowth, I used IGORA Royale. And what I formulated, somebody else applied it, but you know, I like to always make my own formula. Then if it's messed up, I don't have to yell at anybody else. I just yell at myself. So I did 20 grams of 7-77, level 7 copper extra. Then I did 15 grams of 9-7 and 5 grams of 9-55, which is a level 9 gold extra. So for my base, 20 grams of 7-77, we did 15 grams of 9-7, and then 5 grams of 9-55. That was my base. We low lighted some of that through. And then we did all over everything 10-57. It's a brand new shade from IGORA Vibrance. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely do. 10-57 by itself with 6 volume all over everything. Now my money piece, let's talk about that for a second. I do the regrowth on the money piece with a combination of high lifts. I use 10-4, so 7 grams of 10-4 is our beige tone, and then 2 grams of 9-7. Yes, I put a tiny bit of copper, but I just do the regrowth, and that's how I achieve the new growth situation. Hair lift super quick. I just use 30 volume on that. I only use 10 volume for the red here, and I use 6 volume on my gloss. But excellent question. Thank you for asking. Hopefully you guys love it, and you're welcome to use it for anyone. But that, folks, today, that is all we have. So thank you again for joining. Just remember to book your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert. Also, remember that we have free virtual classes once a month. We just had one yesterday. We'll have one next month in October. If you need to check that out, you can literally go and book any class. They're free. We also have technique-based classes on that site as well. So check out the site, book your education there, and don't forget to book your one appointment, and I will be here again next week, but change day. Next week, we are working an amazing event called Lift. If you're going, you know, but next week we're going to be here on Wednesday. So see me next week at 9 a.m. on Wednesday rather than Tuesday, different day, same information. So type in your questions next week and I will see you there. Thank you.